Greetings from the Black Hills of Dakota Territory, United States of America. Stan Gibilisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1, GV Whiskey 1, Golf Victor. The date, November 6, 2013. The time, 6:15 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That works out to 0116 Zulu on November 7th, 2013. I'm listening to the W1AW Bulletin on 20 meters CW, and as usual, they're coming in quite well here. They're also coming in quite well on 18 megahertz, which has not been unusual lately. They've been pretty good on that band lately. But on 15 meters, I don't hear them at all tonight. And that is a first for some time. Neither do I hear them on 10 meters. So I began to wonder, maybe conditions are starting to taper off on those higher frequency bands. My antenna is optimized for 20 meters, capacitively loaded 22-foot vertical, resonant on 14 megahertz. I can make it longer with some more tubing, but it becomes quite unwieldy when I do that, and it's very difficult to handle. I like to be able to take it up and take it down really fast on account of the rapidly changing weather conditions around here. Not so much in the winter, but in the summer, thunderstorms can pop up out of nowhere almost instantly, and they are a danger. So I like to be able to take that thing down. I don't want to have to be wrestling with a 35-foot or 40-foot vertical antenna. It gets pretty difficult to stick that thing into a slot. If you saw me try, you'd know what I mean. And there's a power line not all that far away. I don't want that thing to fall on it. If it's too long, it'll fall on it. So what I'm trying to get at here is that down on these bands, I can listen. I can hear things, especially with the preamplifier on. And I can see that there's activity on the 10 megahertz band. Noise, too. This is a noisy QTH, and it really bothers me. Most of the time, it's quite noisy. Tonight, it's quite noisy, as usual. Well, and 40 meters. Now there's W1AW coming in on their 40 meter bulletin frequency. Not too shabby, but a whole lot of noise down here, and the antenna not being tuned optimally. I mean, I can receive, but I don't think I'd get anywhere trying to transmit into a capacitively loaded vertical antenna designed for 20 meters on this band. That capacitor, everything would conspire against. I suppose I could try. I don't think the matching network would even deal with this. I haven't even tried, to tell you the truth, but I have listened. There's W1AW on the 3.5 megahertz band. I can just barely hear them. I've actually listened occasionally on 160 meters with this antenna, and in fact have occasionally heard signals, but this is a pretty marginal antenna down here. It's almost like the capacitor acts like a blocking capacitor down here. I have 50 picofarads, and that kind of a low impedance antenna, you're just asking for a non-reception issue. But 14 megahertz still going pretty good. Now I can remember when I worked at W1AW in 1977, 1978. They had a pair of stacked, I believe it was 4-element Yagi antennas. They might have been 5-element Yagis. One at 60 feet, one at 120 feet. And they were pointed at an azimuth that would have them aimed directly at San Francisco. They are located in Newington, Connecticut. So the Black Hills of Dakota Territory would be just about right smack in their sites, and I suppose that's still the case. I don't know if they still have the same exact antenna array, But I remember that 120-foot tower pretty well because I used to climb it before the insurance company wouldn't let the employees do that anymore. I used to climb that thing to try to repair those antennas. But it's not particularly easy to do with that kind of a massive tower and just one person like that climbing with a safety belt. And you'd really need multiple humanoids to do that. And I also remember the 40-meter antenna. Let's see, where are we? 70475. See if there are other signals on this band. There used to be high-speed CW down around here. When I was in college in the early 70s, I got into that stuff. The keyboards, the 40 and 50 and sometimes even higher speeds, 50, 60 words a minute. I think the fastest contact I ever had back in those days was at 68 words a minute with someone who claimed to be a girl, 14 years old, in California. Of course, in California, if you contact somebody and they tell you they're a 14-year-old girl, you really don't know much more about them than the fact that they're a human being, okay? But anyway, be that as it may. Well, that was just a CW contact, and we were just radio hams, and there was nothing, nothing of that weirdness going on like you hear about today. But when I worked at W1AW, 40 meters, they had a 3-element Yagi, full-size 3-element Yagi at 90 feet, pointed also directly at San Francisco, which would have that pointed at me now. I think it's only a 2-element Yagi now. But, the elements on that thing, about 33 feet or thereabouts either side of the boom, those were big elements. Those things, those aluminum tubing sections were upwards of 4, 5, 6 inches in diameter at the boom. I remember that was a massive antenna, and we had some windstorms and ice storms when I worked there, and that antenna survived them all. But boy, when there was a 70-mile-an-hour wind gust, that the elements of that antenna had a tendency to flex pretty far. You get a bounce in the SWR for sure there, but I assume that therefore I am just about right smack in their sights on this band with some gain, and this band. Now they're starting to fade on 20 meters, and on 18 megahertz they're starting to fade. Of course, now that we're on standard time, we're really an hour later than we used to be. I mean, if I come down here at 6:30, it's really what used to be 7:30. So we're dealing with not only shorter days, but further into the night. And that's when conditions will start to fall down on these bands. So that might have something to do with this, but I think conditions have really gone downhill considerably just in the past couple of days on the upper HF bands, 18, particularly 21. And we can, of course, give a listen on 21 and see if we can hear anything else. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's still open down towards the... When I put it on sideband mode like that on CW, I do it because it'll tune faster. I'm less likely to miss signals because the filter bandwidth is wider. But you also get more noise and stuff like that. See if there are any digital signals up here. Certainly enough noise. You hear how that's kind of going up and down like that? It's obviously somebody's using some kind of weird appliance. I only run 10 watts in part so that I won't interfere with any of those weird appliances, because you never know when one of those weird appliances might be somebody's medical device. I'm really skittish anymore about lightning is one thing I'm skittish about, and I didn't used to be so much. In my old age, you get skittisher. And I'm also skittish about interfering with other people. I don't want to be a bad neighbor, I like ham radio a lot, but not so much that I'm willing to have bad neighbors on account of And besides, QRP is a real challenge. It's a whole lot of fun. I don't know if 10 watts qualifies as QRP or not for sure, but... Well, I think I've ranted enough. I hope you get something out of these stories of mine. I got a lot of stories from W1AW back in those days. It was kind of a neat time. Stan Gibalisco, W1GV, Whiskey 1. Golf Victor. From the Black Hills of Dakota Territory, United States of America. Saying 73 and so long.